Today is May 8, 2023. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, a little housekeeping first off. Last time I spoke about a hospital in Oklahoma, a Catholic hospital in Oklahoma, that had gotten into trouble with the Biden administration over the presence of I believe it's called a sanctuary candle at the hospital. And when the government wanted to crack down and force the hospital to remove it, or else lose their ability to accept Medicare and Medicaid patients. It was a big threat, but the good news is the government has backed down, and they are going to allow the hospital to continue to have this candle in their hospital. So thank God, cooler heads have prevailed. It's not going to be an issue, at least not for now. But the main thing I want to talk about today is the ongoing consequence of Proposal 3 in Michigan. We've talked about this before, how there was this great disparity in the amount of money raised between the pro-lifers and the pro-abortion people. And because the other side raised 2 times more than we did, they were able to blanket the state with negative ads, misleading commercials, distortions, confusion, and it worked. It worked. And though we were defeated quite handily by the other side because of all of these distortions. So now, it's the Michigan legislature, which actually now has a pro-abortion majority. They're beginning to flesh out the nuts and bolts of what Proposal 3 really will mean. And last Wednesday, the Michigan House, controlled by the Democrats, pro-abortion Democrats, voted 56 to 52. And the next day, last Thursday, the Michigan Senate, controlled by pro-abortion Democrats, voted 20 to 18 for a bill that would require employers, and I'm thinking here specifically employers who have religious convictions opposing abortion, but it would require these employers to provide abortion coverage in their health insurance policies for their employees. And if the employer refuses on a conscience level, refuses to accept this proposal, then they will lose the right to provide health care benefits for their employees. Now, that I'm not sure if that is maternity, policies, or all health care coverage. I'm not sure. But it is forcing employers to take a stand. And back during the Roe v. Wade era, which admittedly was a pretty dark period in our history, even during that time, Congress allowed for conscience clause legislation to be enacted that would exempt taxpayers, you and me, from paying for abortions for poor and indigent women, people on welfare, because of religious convictions. And if you were poor, you needed to find a doctor that would lower his cost, or family and friends who would pay your bill, but the taxpayers would not be forced to pay for your abortion. Well, now in the state of Michigan, that seems to be gone, that conscience clause, because now the employer, perhaps the religiously based employer, whether that means a Christian school, a Catholic hospital, I'm not completely sure what that means, but it does sound like employers will have to pay for employee abortions, or they will lose their ability to provide health care benefits for their employees. what is going to come next? I know, and I mentioned this before too, just before New Year's, back in December, back during the time when the pro-life Republicans actually held the majority in the legislature in Lansing, some Democrats introduced a bill that was going to require pregnancy care centers to advertise that they, their status on abortion. I'm not really sure what the wording was, but it obviously didn't go anywhere. But I truly believe sometime this year, the Michigan legislature is going to try to shut down pro-life pregnancy care centers because they refuse to advertise for abortions, or that they'll be accused of being deceptive or misleading pregnant women or withholding information. There will be an attempt to shut down CPCs in the state of Michigan. But what happened last week is perhaps phase two. Phase one was they passed a bill that codified Roe v. Wade in the Michigan legislature, or the Michigan Constitution, based on Proposal 3, and abortion is now legal in Michigan up to viability and probably beyond for the issues of maternal health. And now this is phase two. They're going after religiously based companies, organizations, employers, forcing them to have abortion coverage. So we'll see what happens next. Whitmer will sign this bill, and it's a travesty. It is just a travesty. Conscience clause legislation had been the rule for 50 years, but no more. With that, I will let you go. I will see you next time.